The Idiot, When God Comes Down to Earth and the World Destroys Him. Dostoevsky Series, Episode 3, Perfect Goodness and Why It Is Not Enough. What if Christ returned today, not with glory, not with angels, but as an ordinary man, gentle, pure, incapable of judging, incapable of condemning, seeing only goodness in every soul? What would happen? Dostoevsky answered that question in 1868, and the answer is devastating. St. Petersburg, a freezing winter. A train arrives from Switzerland, and a young prince disembarks. 26 years old, kind eyes, gentle smile, 4 years in a sanatorium treating epilepsy, now returning to Russia without money, without close family, without plans. His name, Prince Lev Nikolaevich Myshkin, and the first words you'll hear about yourself: idiot. Not because I'm stupid, but because in a world of wolves, lambs seem like idiots. Because in a society built on lies, radical honesty seems like madness. Because when everyone wears masks, the only bare face frightens and disturbs and reveals who we are. In the next few minutes, you'll discover why pure kindness doesn't work in the real world, why compassion without judgment leads to tragedy. Because if Christ returned today, he would be destroyed again. Not by Roman soldiers, but by the impossible complexity of real human beings. You're about to meet Nastasya Filippovna, the most self-destructive woman in literature. Rogozhin, the dark double who embodies everything Myshkin denies. Aglaya, the possible love that will be sacrificed on the altar of impossible compassion. And you'll understand why in 2025, in a world that preaches be kind, love unconditionally, don't judge anyone, Dostoevsky knew that these beautiful words can destroy you and everyone you love. This is not a story of redemption. It's an autopsy of goodness. If you're ready to understand why being good isn't enough and sometimes even makes things worse, leave a like now, subscribe, and comment. Let's go to St. Petersburg again. Because Dostoevsky doesn't write fairy tales. He writes Greek tragedies in St. Petersburg. Let's begin. The lamb enters the slaughterhouse. Myshkin gets off the train and finds two men in the carriage. One of them is Parfeon Rogozhin. Wild eyes, frenetic energy, visible obsession. The other is a cynical bureaucrat. And before the train even stops, Rogozhin is already talking about her. Nastasya Filippovna Barashkova, the most beautiful woman in St. Petersburg, a courtesan, kept by a wealthy man named Trotsky since she was 16, and now, at 25, being offered in marriage like merchandise to an ambitious bureaucrat who accepts her past in exchange for a generous dowry. Rogozhin is obsessed. He spent his family's fortune trying to win her. She's mine, he says with disturbing intensity. I'll have her or... and it leaves the sentence hanging in the air. Myshkin listens. He doesn't judge. He doesn't condemn. He simply feels deep compassion for the man, for the woman he doesn't even know, for everyone. E algo no olhar de Myshkin, puro, sem malícia, sem cálculo, perturba Rogozhin. You're weird, he says, like an idiot. Myshkin smiles gently. Yes, I was an idiot. Literally. I spent years without speaking, without clear thinking. Epilepsy destroyed me, but I was cured, or almost. Myshkin's epilepsy is not just a disease, it's a gateway to another world. Dostoevsky knew this because he himself was epileptic, and he describes, through Myshkin, something that the medicine of his time did not understand: the pre-epileptic aura as a mystical experience. Minutes before the attack, Myshkin senses mind and heart illuminated by extraordinary light. All doubts, all worries seemed appeased at once, resolved in some supreme calm, full of clear and harmonious joy, hope, reason, and ultimate cause. For a few brief seconds, perhaps less, Myshkin feels what mystics seek their entire lives: union with the absolute, total understanding. unconditional love for all existence, and then darkness, convulsions, and upon awakening, the memory of an ecstasy that words cannot capture. Jung would call this an encounter with the self, the transcendent center of the psyche, the totality that goes beyond the limited ego. Myshkin, in those moments, is not a person. He is a portal, a channel for something greater. Freud would be more skeptical. Epilepsy as a neurophysiological manifestation. But even Freud would acknowledge Myshkin's interpretation of the experience as contact with the divine profoundly shapes his psyche. He lives with one foot in the transcendent, and that makes him ill-suited to the mundane. Adler would add a crucial dimension. Myshkin developed what Adler would call a compensatory lifestyle. He spent his childhood and adolescence as a literal idiot, inferior in every social, intellectual, and physical aspect. This organic inferiority, severe epilepsy, created a profound feeling of inadequacy. And when finally cured, partially, Myshkin doesn't compensate by seeking superiority in conventional areas, wealth, power, social status. No, he compensates through moral superiority. I may not have money, position, or perfect health, but I have something that no one else has. Absolute kindness, universal compassion that makes me special. Adler would call this guiding fiction, a narrative that guides all psychic life. Myshkin's fiction, I am the one who loves unconditionally. That is my worth, my reason for being. And when that fiction is threatened, when it discovers that love doesn't save, the entire personality collapses. Myshkin arrives at the home of the Apanchin family, a distant family who may be able to help him, and there he meets their 3 daughters. Aglaya, the youngest, 20 years old, beautiful, intelligent, proud, and deeply bored with the superficial world that surrounds her. She looks at Myshkin, and she sees something she's never seen before: honesty, without an agenda. He doesn't try to impress her. He doesn't flirt. He doesn't manipulate. He simply is, and that fascinates her and terrifies her, because Aglaya is used to social games, to masks, to performances, and Myshkin doesn't play. It's as transparent as glass, and when you look through it, you don't see a flattering reflection, you see yourself, unfiltered. Adler saw in Aglaya an example of a healthy social interest in development. Gemeinschaftsgefühl, community feeling, is, for Adler, a mark of psychological maturity. Aglaya is in transition. She was born into privilege, which can lead to egocentrism, but she has the intelligence and sensitivity to develop a genuine interest in the well-being of others. Myshkin catalyzes this transformation because he embodies absolute social interest. He lives entirely for others. And Aglaya, realizing this, begins to question her own existence, which is centered on social appearances. Have you ever met someone incapable of lying? Not because they're morally superior, but because falsehood doesn't make sense in their mental framework. And have you noticed how uncomfortable that makes you feel? Because compared to absolute honesty, their own social lies, small, harmless ones, become glaringly obvious. Now you're about to meet Nastasya Filippovna, the woman everyone wants to possess but no one truly sees. And you'll understand how sexual trauma in adolescence creates a pattern of self-destruction that kindness alone cannot cure. Don't leave now. That same night, there is a party at Nastasya Filippovna's house. It's her birthday, 25 years old, and she's being sold, as she herself bitterly puts it, into marriage. Trotsky, her protector, red abuser since she was 16, arranged everything. The groom, Ganya Ivolgin, accepts her past in exchange for a dowry of 75,000 rubles. The room is full, St. Petersburg society. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone pretends not to know. And then Myshkin enters. He wasn't invited. but he's following his impulse. He feels he needs to be there. Nastasya looks at him, and for the first time in years, she sees someone who doesn't want her, not sexually, not as a trophy, not as something to be hidden or displayed as a shame. He only sees her as human, and that breaks something in her. Nastasya Filippovna as a character is a study in complex trauma. Orphaned at 7, taken in by Trotsky at 12, seduced, raped, let's be honest, at 16, molded to be the perfect courtesan, and for 9 years, living with shame, anger, and something worse, conviction that she deserves punishment. Freud would call this internalization of the abuser. The victim is unable to fully blame the perpetrator, especially as a child, so they turn the aggression against themselves. I must have been bad. I must have provoked it. I am dirty. And that inner voice becomes a sadistic superego, demanding constant punishment and sabotaging any possibility of happiness. Because people like me don't deserve happiness. Jung would see Nastasya as someone possessed by the shadow. Not her own shadow, but the collective shadow projected onto her by society. Fallen woman, impure, stained. She internalizes these projections until they become her identity. And Adler would add a devastating layer. Nastasya developed a guiding fiction based on irreparable inferiority. Her internal narrative: I am fundamentally inferior, destroyed, worthless, and any evidence to the contrary is a lie or a deception. According to Adler, we all seek to overcome feelings of inferiority through striving for significance. Healthy people do this through social contribution, relationships, and constructive achievements. But Nastasya, after a devastating trauma, seeks meaning through spectacular self-destruction. If I cannot be pure, I will be magnificently impure. If I cannot be loved, I will be unforgettably rejected. My destruction will be a work of art. This explains why she chooses Rogozhin, who will probably kill her, instead of Myshkin, who would save her. Because salvation contradicts her guiding fiction, and contradicting guiding fiction is psychic death. And when Myshkin, this pure man, this prince, literally and metaphorically, looks at her without judgment, without predatory desire, only with compassion, she can't stand it. In the middle of the party, Rogozhin bursts in, drunk, wild, throwing 100,000 rubles on the table. Here, this is for you, Nastasya Filippovna. Come with me. Now. The room freezes, and Nastasya laughs like a mad woman, takes the money, throws it into the fireplace. Whoever takes this from the fire can have it, with their bare hands. No one moves, except Ganya, who hesitates, humiliated, torn between greed and pride. And then, Myshkin speaks. Nastasya Filippovna, cásese conmigo. Absolute silence. I have nothing, but I respect you, I honor you. You are not what they say, you are... He stops. He searches for words, and he says something that no one else would say. You are queen. And Nastasya cries. For the first time in years, she truly cries. Because someone saw her, truly saw her. Not the courtesan, not the fallen woman, but the child who is destroyed, the soul that is broken, the queen in exile. But then, precisely because he saw her, she runs away. No, you're too good. I would destroy you. No, Rogozhin, take me, now. And she runs off with Rogozhin, the man who desires her violently, who will probably kill her one day instead of accepting the prince who loves her purely. Why? Freudian perspective. Because pure love, which sees her as worthy without putting any pressure on her, will require her to see herself as worthy. And she can't. Because Myshkin's kindness is a mirror reflecting how lost she feels. And that reaction hurts more than any violence one could suffer. Jungian perspective. Because accepting Myshkin would mean integrating the self, becoming whole, including undamaged parts. but she is identified with her shadow. Integrating her shadow would be the death of the known identity. Adlerian perspective. Because accepting Myshkin directly contradicts his guiding fiction. If she is queen, as he says, then the entire narrative of destroyed, impure, worthless woman collapses. And this narrative, however painful it may be, is everything she has. It is their identity, their meaning, their way of having power, the power to reject, to spectacularly self-destruct, to control through suffering. Choosing Rogozhin keeps the fiction intact. See, I'm truly worthless. I even chose a man who will destroy me. That proves my inferiority. It is an Adlerian compulsion to repeat, not in the Freudian sense of a death drive, but as a constant confirmation of self-deprecating guiding fiction. This book is powerful and will break us. Don't give up. Comment now. Have you ever run away from someone who truly loved you because you didn't feel worthy? Have you ever chosen a toxic relationship because it seemed more real than kindness? Share this with someone you know who is running away from someone who truly loves them. Rogozhin, the dark double and the struggle for power. Myshkin and Rogozhin become friends. Oops. Not exactly. Something stranger, deeper, more disturbing. They are doubles. Rogozhin is everything that Myshkin is not. Violent passion versus gentle compassion, possession versus liberation, body versus spirit, destructive eros versus transcendent agape. And yet, they both love the same woman. They visit each other constantly. They exchange crosses, an orthodox ritual of spiritual brotherhood. And they walk together in an increasingly morbid dance towards inevitable tragedy. Analysis of Adlerian de Rogozhin. Rogozhin is the second son. His father was a brutal merchant who favored his older brother. Rogozhin grew up with a deep sense of inferiority within his family. When his father dies, Rogozhin suspects his brother hastened his death. He inherits a fortune. And finally, he has the tools for compensation, money as a source of power. For Adler, the struggle for superiority takes different forms depending on the guiding fiction. Rogozhin developed fiction. I am inferior in refinement, education, and class. But with money I can possess what superior men only admire. Nastasya becomes the ultimate test of this fiction. She, beautiful, educated, desired by aristocrats, is the ultimate trophy. If he can possess her, it proves that he has overcome his original inferiority. But there is a fatal contradiction. Possession is not love, and Rogozhin confuses the two. For Adler, mature love requires a social interest, an ability to see the well-being of the other as something as important as one's own. Rogozhin doesn't have that. He has a narcissistic obsession disguised as passion. She is mine doesn't mean I want her to be happy. It means I need her to be mine in order for me to have value. And when the object of obsession resists complete possession, the only solution the non-integrated mind finds is destruction. If I can't have it, nobody can. And if nobody can, by destroying it, I still retain ultimate control. It is a distorted logic of unresolved inferiority seeking power through annihilation. There's a scene in Rogozhin's apartment that crystallizes everything. Myshkin visits. The apartment is dark, heavy. It smells of mold and obsession. On the walls, religious icons are mixed with something sinister. Rogozhin Mostra Quadro, The Dead Christ, by Hans Holbein. It is not the resurrected Christ. It is a corpse, a body beginning to decay. No divine light, just dead flesh. Myshkin stares intently and whispers, "This painting with this artistic expression could cause someone to lose their faith." Rogozhin Sorry Amargo. Sim, Verdade. And at that moment, you understand. Rogozhin is what Myshkin would become if he lost faith, if his kindness found its limit, if compassion were corrupted into a desire to possess. Jung would call Rogozhin the shadow of Myshkin. Not an external enemy, but the repressed aspect of his own psyche. Everything that Myshkin denies in himself, sexuality, violence, possessiveness, the capacity to kill, lives in Rogozhin. Freud would see Rogozhin as a manifestation of Myshkin's id, the primitive impulses that Myshkin's overdeveloped superego completely represses. Adler offers a complementary perspective. Rogozhin and Myshkin are two opposing compensatory lifestyles. Myshkin compensates for inferiority, epilepsy, idiocy, through absolute moral superiority. Rogozhin compensates for inferiority, class, education, through material physical possessions. Both extremes, both one-sided, both were doomed to collapse. And what about the ritual of exchanging crosses? It's an unconscious attempt at integration. If I accept your darkness and you accept my light, perhaps we will both become whole. But that doesn't work, because neither of them has the psychic structure for true integration. Myshkin lives entirely in the light, Rogozhin entirely in the shadow. And when extremes meet without mediation, the only possible outcome is tragedy. That same night, while walking through the streets, Myshkin senses someone is following him. Turn around. Nothing. It continues. Again, presence. And then you see Rogozhin, hidden, holding a knife. Their eyes meet. Rogozhin approaches slowly, murderous determination on his face. Myshkin doesn't run. He doesn't shout. He just looks, with compassion, even now, even in the face of death. And Rogozhin, Trava, his hand trembles and the knife falls. I was going to, Myshkin embraces him and says, I know, everything's fine. And at that moment, exactly at that moment, Myshkin has an epileptic seizure. He falls, he convulses, and Rogozhin flees, terrified not by the violence he almost committed, but by the kindness he witnessed. Porque Rogozhin no consiguió matar Myshkin. Jungian perspective. Because killing Myshkin would be killing the part of himself that still believes in redemption. It would be confessing, there is no goodness in the world, everything is violence and possession. Freudian perspective. Rogozhin's superego, however weakened, still exists. Killing an innocent man would violate the last remaining moral code. Adlerian perspective. Rogozhin confronted something that his guiding fiction could not process. Pure social interest. Myshkin, even in the face of imminent assassination, is concerned about Rogozhin. Not for self-preservation, but for the well-being of the other. This challenges everything that Rogozhin's constructed fiction supported. The world is a battle for power. You either dominate or you are dominated. There is no third option, but something cracked. Or did it? But Myshkin offers a third option, renunciation of power in favor of love. And Rogozhin, for a brief moment, sees and cannot bear it, cannot endure the undeserved grace, something that happens to many who confront it, because accepting that option would mean rebuilding the entire structure of meaning in their life. But he can't kill either, because part of him, he wants to believe. The contradiction will be resolved in the only way possible for a non-integrated mind. Total destruction. Not his, but Nastasya's. The object they both desire, but neither can truly possess. Now stay with us if subscribe and turn on notifications. Comment on what you're feeling in the next episode. The Demons. We'll delve into another part of the powerful psychology of this magnificent author. And finally, in the last video, the last episode, we'll arrive at the Brothers Karamazov God, freedom, and the problem of evil. That's why you should integrate this entire series. If you miss it, you'll miss Dostoevsky's final masterpiece. In a few minutes, you will witness the most brutal confrontation in literature. Two women, one pure, young, healthy, the other traumatized, self-destructive, impossible. And Myshkin will have to choose. And the choice he makes, it destroys everyone, including himself. Just wait. Aglaya versus Nastasya. Possible love versus impossible love. while Nastasya flees and returns, oscillating between Rogozhin and Myshkin, between self-destruction and hope. Another story unfolds. Aglaya Epanchin falls in love with the prince, and it's not superficial infatuation. It's something profound. She sees in him everything that's missing in her world. Honesty in a world of social lies, kindness in a world of cynicism, the ability to see beauty in people whom society has discarded. Aglaya is young, 20 years old, intelligent, without traumas, from a loving family. She represents the love that is possible, healthy love, the real future. But there's a problem. She's proud, and she uses this pride as a defense. He mocks Myshkin. He tests him. He provokes him because he's afraid of his vulnerability. Adlerian analysis of Aglaya. Aglaya is the youngest of 3 daughters. Birth order, according to Adler, profoundly influences psychological development. Younger daughters often, they feel the need to prove their unique worth. There are already 2 sisters. They develop manipulative charm. They received more attention as babies. They have difficulty with genuine vulnerability. They're used to achieving it through performance. Aglaya grew up as a favorite, the most beautiful, the most intelligent, the most desired. This created a guiding fiction based on superiority. I am special, superior, and that's why I deserve extraordinary love. Ordinary love doesn't suit me. And in Myshkin, he finds exactly that, extraordinary love. He doesn't want her for her beauty or status. He sees her transparently, he sees her alma. But here's the catch. This perspective requires her to be genuinely vulnerable. It demands that she admit, I'm not just a proud princess. I'm also a scared human who needs love. And Aglaya resists, because vulnerability contradicts the fiction of superiority. So she constantly tests Myshkin. She provokes him. She mocks him, trying to prove him wrong. See, even you're going to reject me. So my defensive superiority was right. But Myshkin doesn't reject her. He sees through her defenses, and gently, patiently, he waits for her to lower her guard. They have deep conversations about beauty, about suffering, about what it means to be human, and Aglaya realizes he is the only person who truly sees her, not as a social trophy, but as a unique soul. And slowly, miraculously, she begins to let her guard down. In a moving scene, Aglaya reads Pushkin a poem to Myshkin, The Poor Knight. It's about a knight who saw a vision of the Virgin Mary and dedicated his entire life to her, renouncing everything. And Myshkin understands. She is saying, I am your vision, and you are my knight. They're getting engaged. They're going to get married. The families approve, reluctantly. The future is mapped out. It's a happy ending. But Dostoevsky doesn't write happy endings. Porque Nastasya Filippovna Volta. Not because she loves Myshkin romantically, but because he represents something she lost as a child, his innocence, and she is obsessed, pathologically so, with preserving that innocence, even if it means destroying it. She writes letters to Aglaya, strange letters, passionate letters, saying, you are pure. You deserve him, I don't, but I need him, not for myself, so that he can save me from total darkness. Adlerian perspective on the letters. Nastasya is engaged in a power game disguised as self-sacrifice. Superficially, I'm giving him up. You deserve him better. Psychological basement. I will demonstrate my moral superiority through renunciation, and simultaneously maintain emotional control over him through visible suffering. This is what Adler would call a neurotic arrangement, behavior that appears generous but actually seeks attention, control, and confirmation of a guiding fiction. I am special. Why suffer terribly? And it works. Because Myshkin, programmed to respond to suffering, cannot ignore it. Aglaya, young, insecure, burning with jealousy, reads these letters and interprets them as, "She loves him more than I do," and it demands confrontation. The two women meet. Nastasya, Aglaya, and Myshkin are in a room. Aglaya strikes first. With all the cruelty that her privileged youth can provide, "You're a courtesan, a fallen woman, shameful, and you dare write to me? You dare speak of love? You don't know what love is. You only know how to sell yourself." Words are like razors, and Nastasya doesn't defend. She agrees. "Yes, you're right. I am all of that. And you are pure. That's why I'm giving him back to you. Keep him. He deserves purity." Adler would see here Aglaya attacking from a position of defensive superiority based on class and purity. She feels a secret inferiority, fear of not being loved for herself, only for appearances, so she attacks Nastasya's point of maximum vulnerability. Nastasya responds with strategic inferiority, superficially agreeing, "Yes, I am inferior," but maintaining emotional control through a posture of noble martyrdom. But then, and here's the poison, Nastasya adds, "But you're afraid, aren't you? I'm afraid I still have power over him, that if I want to, I can take him away from you." And Aglaya explodes. All the hatred, all the jealousy, all the insecurity explodes, erupt. "You have no power. You are nothing. He feels sorry for you. Not love, pity, like one feels sorry for a sick dog in the street." And here Aglaya makes a fatal mistake. She reveals her greatest fear, that Myshkin doesn't truly love her, that his compassion for Nastasya is stronger than his romantic love for her. And this revelation gives Nastasya exactly what she, unconsciously, wanted: confirmation that her suffering has more power than the happiness of others. For Adler, this is a perfect example of neurotic, private logic. My suffering makes me more important than her happiness. Therefore, I have won. And at that moment, exactly at that moment, Nastasya has an attack, a psychological breakdown. She falls. She convulses, not epileptically, but hysterically, dissociatively. And Myshkin runs towards her, not for Aglaya, the woman he loves, who loves him, who represents a possible future, but for Nastasya, the broken, impossible woman who will destroy him. Why? Because Myshkin doesn't love like normal humans love. He loves like Christ, universal compassion. And universal compassion means it always goes to those who suffer most, not for those who deserve it more, not for those who will offer a better future, but for those who are most broken. And at that moment, Nastasya is more broken than Aglaya. So he chooses Nastasya, and she loses Aglaya forever. Tripartite analysis of Myshkin's choice. Jung. Myshkin is possessed by the archetype of the Redeemer. It's not a conscious choice. It's an archetypal compulsion. It needs to save, even if saving means destroying yourself and everyone who loves you. Freud. Myshkin has a pathological savior complex. Unresolved Oedipal bond. Mother as a figure of suffering who needs to be rescued. Inability to establish healthy boundaries between the ego and the demands of a hypertrophied superego. I must save everyone who suffers. Adler. And here's the most devastating insight. Myshkin doesn't choose Nastasya out of pure altruism. He chooses her because she confirms his guiding fiction. Remember, Myshkin's fiction is I am the one who loves unconditionally. That is my only value, my compensating superiority. Aglaya, healthy, capable of reciprocity, not needing saving, threatens this fiction. Because loving Aglaya would be a relationship between equals. She doesn't need a redeemer. She needs a partner. If Myshkin is not the redeemer, who is he? Nastasya, on the other hand, perfectly confirms the fiction. She needs saving. She validates his identity as a Christ figure. She allows him to maintain compensatory superiority based on compassion. So the choice isn't ethical, it's neurotic. Myshkin chooses Nastasya because he needs to be necessary, because his entire identity depends on being the one who saves the impossible. And when you discover that even the impossible can't be saved, total collapse. Have you ever chosen someone who needed saving instead of someone who offered a healthy partnership? Have you ever felt more alive in a dramatic relationship than in a stable love? Have you ever confused being needed with being loved? Share in the comments, because recognizing the pattern is the first step to breaking it. Now you'll see the ending. And it's not redemption, it's total collapse. Rogozhin finally does what he always knew he would do. Nastasya finally meets the punishment she always sought. And Myshkin discovers that unarmed kindness in an armed world saves no one. It only creates more corpses. Don't leave now. Come with me. The night of the knife. When kindness dies, Myshkin and Nastasya get married, or almost. On her wedding day, she is dressed as a bride. The church is decorated, guests are waiting, and she runs away, again, for the last time. Boj comme Rogozhin, and this time, there's no going back. Hours later, Myshkin finds Rogozhin's apartment. He knocks on the door. Silence. Knock again. And slowly the door opens. Rogozhin is there. Empty eyes, trembling hands, the smell of blood in the air. Come in, he says in a dead voice. Myshkin enters and sees Nastasya Filippovna lying in bed, knife in her heart, dead. The apartment is dark, curtains drawn. Rogozhin placed white sheets over her. He arranged her body carefully, almost reverentially. She was running away again, Rogozhin whispers. Always running away. From me, from you, from herself. So I stopped the escape. Myshkin doesn't shout. He doesn't attack. He doesn't call the police. He just sits next to the body, next to Rogozhin. And the two men, the saint and the murderer, spend the night together watching over the body of the woman they both loved, that no one can save. That is now finally at peace. This scene is one of the most disturbing in literature. There is no graphic violence. There is no drama, only silence. And two men sitting in a dark room with a corpse between them. Why doesn't Myshkin act? Why doesn't he call for help? Why does he simply accept it? Because at that moment, something inside him breaks. The illusion that kindness saves. Throughout the novel, Myshkin operated on the premise: if I love unconditionally, if I don't judge, if I offer pure compassion, I can redeem any soul. And Nastasya proves, no. Tripartite analysis of the assassination. Freud. Nastasya had what he called a death drive, thanatos. Not just a desire to die, but a compulsion to repeat trauma. She was raped at 16, and afterwards, she spent her life recreating dynamics of abuse, choosing men who treated her as an object, fleeing from those who treated her as a person. Why? Because trauma becomes identity. I am a flawed woman, therefore I need relationships that confirm this identity. Kindness contradicts my self-image, therefore kindness must be rejected. And the only way out of this compulsion to repeat? For Nastasya, it was literal death. Jung. Nastasya is possessed by the collective shadow. Society has defined her as impure. She has internalized it. And even when Myshkin offers a different path, the shadow is too strong. She cannot see herself as a whole person, only as a dark fragment. Rogozhin is the executor of the shadow. He is not a villain, but an instrument, a tool through which tragic destiny is fulfilled. Adler. And here's the most shocking interpretation. The murder was unwitting collaboration. Nastasya had always sought death. Her entire life had been driven toward ultimate punishment. Rogozhin offered to carry out what she didn't have the courage to do herself. For Adler, even seemingly passive acts, being a victim, can be teleological, oriented towards an unconscious goal. Nastasya, he chose Rogozhin, not romantically, but as the executor of the final guiding fiction. I am so inferior, so broken, that my only way out is physical destruction. And Rogozhin, with his own fiction of, I must possess something in order for it to have value, he finds in Nastasya the perfect partner for the dance of death. When she runs away on her wedding day, she's not running away to Rogozhin. He's running away to death. Why kindness isn't enough. Lessons for 2025. The Idiot. It is Dostoevsky's most personal and painful book, because in Myshkin, he attempted to create a perfectly good man, his literary response to Christ, proof that Christian goodness could work in the modern world, and the result? Total tragedy. But not because Dostoevsky lost his faith, because he understood something deeper and more disturbing. Kindness without wisdom is destructive. 1. Unlimited compassion annihilates responsibility. Myshkin never judges. He never condemns. He never sets limits. And do you know what happens when you don't set boundaries? People use their kindness for self-destruction. Nastasya knew that Myshkin would always accept her. No matter how many times she ran away, came back, destroyed things, he would always be there, with infinite compassion. And that certainty? It removed any incentive for her to change. Because change demands consequences. It demands facing. If I continue like this, I will lose people I love. But Myshkin implicitly promised, you will never lose me. And Nastasya interpreted it as, then I can continue my self-destructive pattern without fear of abandonment. Freudian perspective. Nastasya's already sadistic superego finds validation for perpetual self-punishment in Myshkin. I can destroy myself endlessly because he will always forgive me. Therefore, I never need to stop. Jungian perspective. The unintegrated shadow remains unintegrated because there is no external pressure to confront it. Myshkin removes all tension necessary for individuation. Adlerian perspective. And here is the most devastating insight. Unconditional love without expectations can be a form of disrespect, because he assumes you are incapable of change, so I won't even wait for you to try. I will simply accept it forever. Adler would say, genuine social interest, sense of community. This is not passive acceptance. It is active encouragement for growth. True love says, I see your potential, and I will challenge you to reach it. Not because you are broken, but because you are capable. Myshkin never challenged Nastasya. He simply accepted, and acceptance without challenge infantilizes. It freezes people in their current state. In 2025, we see this constantly. Parents who love unconditionally, but never set limits. Children without the internal structure to regulate their behavior. Partners who don't judge toxic behavior. Codependent relationships where one person sacrifices themselves and the other deteriorates. Culture of radical acceptance. No one is held accountable. Self-love becomes narcissism without self-criticism. Therapy that only validates, never confronts. Years of analysis without real transformation. Dostoevsky is not defending cruelty. He is warning, love without truth is not love. It is complicity. It is cowardice disguised as compassion. 2. You cannot save someone who doesn't want to be saved. The hardest lesson of The Idiot. Some people don't want redemption. They want validation of their own narrative of unworthiness. Nastasya had a way out, multiple ways out. Myshkin offered. The Apankin family offered. Even Totsky, the abuser, was willing to pay for her to disappear and start over. But she refused. All of them. Why? Freud would say, because accepting a way out means betraying a masochistic connection with the sadistic superego. If I get cured, who will I be? My whole identity is suffering woman. Jung would say, because accepting the exit means integrating the self, becoming whole, including undamaged parts. But she is identified with shadow. Integration, death of the known identity. Adler would say, because his entire guiding fiction is built upon irreparable inferiority. For Nastasya, To be saved means to admit, I can be different, I can be more than my trauma. This contradicts fiction. I am fundamentally broken, beyond repair. My only value lies in suffering magnificently, contradicting guiding fiction, psychic death, worse than physical death. So Nastasya chooses to remain in the pattern, right to the literal end. And here is the brutal truth that Adler clearly saw. All neurotic behavior has a hidden purpose. Nastasya is not a passive victim of trauma. The trauma happened. Real, devastating, but her response trauma, perpetual self-destruction, serves a psychological purpose. Pay attention. Dramatic suffering ensures that others, Myshkin, Rogozhin, society, are always focused on it. Avoiding responsibility, I can't change because I'm too broken, removes the need for real effort. It provides a distorted meaning. My suffering is exceptional. Therefore, I am exceptional. It protects against real vulnerability. While I perform tragedy, I don't need to risk genuine intimacy. In 2025, we try to save people from addictions, but addiction is their identity, their community, their meaning. We try to cure people of depression, but depression can be an unconscious strategy to get attention, avoid demands, punish others. We try to rescue people from toxic relationships, but they go back because familiar, safe, change, terror. We offer endless resources, therapy, support, opportunities, and people refuse them because accepting them would remove the fiction of being a victim with no choices. And we learned the hard way. You can only offer your hand. You can't force anyone to take it. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is let go. Not because you don't care, but because continuing to hold on while the person is drowning only guarantees that you will drown too. 3. Ignorance of the shadow is dangerous. Deadly naivety. Myshkin does not have an integrated shadow. He is pure light, pure goodness, and because he completely denies his own dark side, the capacity for violence, selfishness, judgment, he cannot recognize when others are operating from the shadow. He doesn't see that Rogozhin is a potential assassin, or rather, he sees it, but he can't. To believe, really, because to believe would mean admitting, I also have that ability, and Myshkin cannot admit that. It would destroy his self-image as a pure redeemer. Jung repeatedly warned, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is incorporated into the individual's conscious life, the darker and denser it becomes. If an inferiority is conscious, there is always a chance to correct it. But if it is repressed and isolated from consciousness, it is never corrected. Myshkin completely suppresses the shadow, and the result? He doesn't recognize the real danger when Rogozhin follows him with a knife until almost too late. It does not protect Nastasya from her obvious fate, death at the hands of Rogozhin. It doesn't set limits that would save everyone, including himself. Freud would add, Myshkin's ego is enslaved by a hypertrophied superego. The superego demands absolute goodness, boundless compassion. But the id, with its impulses of self-preservation, defensive aggression, and discriminatory judgment, is completely repressed. The repressed id doesn't disappear, it leaks out. Through epileptic seizures, the body screaming what the mind cannot process. Unconscious self-destructive choices, choosing Nastasya over Aglaya. Final collapse, regression to idiocy as a complete escape. Adler would add, Myshkin developed an inverted inferiority complex. Instead of feeling inferior and compensating with normal ambition, he feels inferior, epilepsy, previous, idiocy, and compensates with exaggerated moral superiority. I may not have health, wealth, or worldly power, but I am morally superior to all. I am Christ reincarnated. This is guiding fiction as extreme as Nastasya's. and both lead to destruction. In 2025, culture of toxic positivity, denying anger, sadness, and grief as low vibes, good vibes only, suppressing negative emotions until burnout or explosion. Be light, denying one's own complex humanity, judging others for having a visible shadow. Never judge, inability to discern between safe and dangerous, healthy and toxic. Spirituality bypassing, using spiritual concepts to avoid real psychological work. And the result? Non-integrated shadows exploding into depression, shadow turned inward, addictions, an attempt to silence shadow with substances, sudden violence, repressed shadow erupting, nervous breakdowns, entire system saying, I can't deny half of myself anymore. Myshkin proves, denying shadow doesn't make you holy, it makes you vulnerable, and eventually, it destroys you. Or, unarmed kindness in an armed world creates victims. Myshkin is gentle in a world of wolves, and wolves devour, not because they are evil, but because it's their nature. Rogozhin is no cartoon villain. He is a man of intense passions, limited education, and poorly controlled impulses. And when confronted with an object of obsession, Nastasya, who is also an obstacle, Myshkin, his predatory nature emerges. Myshkin could have protected Nastasya. How? Setting clear boundaries. I'll stay with you. Or with Aglaya. I can't save both of you. Choice. Real therapy and commitment, or I let you go. Acknowledging the real danger Rogozhin poses. This man is a threat. He needs to be legally removed if necessary. Accepting that protection sometimes requires force, not just compassion, but action, involving authorities, creating physical distance, using available resources. But he doesn't do any of that, because they would all require judgment. Rogozhin is dangerous. Nastasya is choosing self-destruction. Choose Aglaya or Nastasya, not both. Exclusion. Some people need to be kept out of your life, and Myshkin cannot exclude anyone, because that would violate the fiction of a universal redeemer who loves everyone equally. Tripartite analysis. Freud. Myshkin has such a tyrannical superego that any act of self-preservation or boundary protection is felt as malignant egoism, so he sacrifices himself and allows others to be sacrificed. Jung. Myshkin is possessed by the archetype of eternal child, combined with redeemer. It does not have access to the archetype of the king, who governs, establishes limits, protects territory, or warrior, who fights when necessary. It only has access to compassionate sage and universal lover. But one-sided archetypes destroy. Adler. Myshkin confuses social interest, genuine concern for collective well-being, with neurotic self-sacrifice. For Adler, true social interest includes cooperation, not submission, contribution, not self-annihilation, the courage to be imperfect, not impossible moral perfectionism. Myshkin lacks a healthy social interest. He has a compulsion to save everyone in order to validate guiding fiction. And when he can't save anyone, he completely collapses. In 2025, don't judge becomes don't distinguish between safe and dangerous. Accept everyone becomes don't have standards, don't protect boundaries. Be kind becomes be a doormat, let yourself be exploited. Empathy becomes absorbing others' trauma without protection. Compassionate burnout. Always forgive becomes allow perpetual abuse without consequences. And kind people are exploited, manipulated, destroyed. Dostoevsky isn't saying be cruel. He's saying be wise. Kindness without wisdom is suicide, and sometimes manslaughter by negligence. Because Myshkin, with his disarming kindness, did not save Nastasya. He allowed her to walk straight to her death, and even passively witnessed it. 5. The tragedy of pure goodness. Christ without wisdom. Not final. The idiot answers. The original question. What if Christ returned today? And the answer is, it would be destroyed. Again, not because of Roman soldiers, but because of the impossible complexity of real human beings who, they do not want to be saved. Nastasya. They project their shadows. A society that pours impurity onto Nastasya and then condemns her. They confuse compassion with weakness. All those who exploit Myshkin's kindness. They destroy what they don't understand. A world that calls purity idiocy. But here's the crucial difference. The Christ of the Gospels possessed wisdom in addition to goodness. Christ, he expelled merchants from the temple, using force when necessary. He called the Pharisees whitewashed tombs, judging them to be hypocritical. He said, "Let the dead bury their dead." He set limits, he didn't save everyone. He cursed the barren fig tree, demonstrating justified anger. He chose 12 specific apostles. He didn't try to redeem everyone. He focused on those who were ready. Christ had integrated shadow. He had discernment. He had wisdom. Myshkin is pure kindness, and pure goodness we painfully discovered. He's naive, doesn't see real danger. It is fragile. It breaks at the first confrontation with true evil. It is destructive. It allows others to self-destruct. It's unsustainable. It leads to psychological breakdown. Final tripartite analysis. Freud. Myshkin represents what happens when the superego completely dominates the ego, without healthy mediation from the id. Result: severe neurosis culminating in psychotic collapse. Jung. Myshkin fails at individuation because he refuses to integrate the shadow. He remains trapped in one-sided identification with the archetype of the Redeemer, and unintegrated archetypes possess, and possessed destroy. Adler. Myshkin demonstrates that even seemingly noble guiding fiction can be neurotic. His fiction, I am the universal Redeemer. My value lies in saving everyone through unconditional love. Problem: this fiction removes his responsibility for making difficult choices, establish priorities, accepting human limitations, living real life instead of messianic fantasy. And when reality forces a confrontation with limitations, fiction crumbles, and the personality built upon false fiction crumbles along with it. Share this with someone who is sacrificing themselves trying to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Comment: I was Myshkin, because honesty is the first step, and perhaps there is still time to learn before total collapse. Dostoevsky's poisoned gift. Dostoevsky wrote The Idiot in 1868. He was 47 years old. He had epilepsy. He was in debt. He was in voluntary exile in Dresden, fleeing creditors. And he himself said about the book, "It was my greatest failure. I wanted to create a perfectly good man, and I created a tragedy. But was it a failure? Or is it that failure that was the message?" Because Dostoevsky understood something that the Christian culture of his time and ours denies. Kindness alone doesn't change the world. It never has. Christ did not transform the world through kindness. He transformed it because he combined kindness with an uncomfortable truth. Christ had compassion for the excluded, prostitutes, tax collectors, lepers, but also righteous fury, temple, Pharisees, hypocrites, unconditional love for sinners, but also absolute standards. Go and sin no more. Not do whatever you want, I will always accept you. Radical forgiveness, but also clear consequences. Withered fig tree, warnings about hell. Christ had integrated shadow. He had wisdom. He had discernment. Myshkin is pure kindness and pure goodness. We discovered through 600 pages of suffering is not enough. It never will be. In 2025, we will be experiencing an epidemic of Myshkins. On a personal level, people trying to unconditionally love everyone, total compassionate burnout, burnout trying never to judge, inability to discern between safe, dangerous, healthy, toxic, offering infinite safe space, allowing others to never grow, never be challenged, sacrificing healthy relationships, Aglaya, for impossible ones, Nastasya. At the cultural level, self-love without self-criticism, narcissism, radical acceptance without standards, paralyzing moral relativism, empathy without limits, collective burnout, compassionate fatigue, don't cancel anyone, tolerance of abusive, destructive behavior. At the therapeutic level, therapy that only validates, never confronts, years without real change, endless validation of feelings, infantilization, inability to regulate emotions, exclusive focus on past trauma, permanent identity as a victim, Nastasya's guiding fiction, and Dostoevsky, 157 years earlier, warned, "This will destroy you, and it won't save anyone." So what's the alternative? No cruelty, no cynicism, no hardening of the heart, but compassionate wisdom. The three schools of psychology converge here. Freud would say, a healthy ego mediates between the demands of the ID, self-preservation, legitimate needs, and the superego, morality, ideals. Kindness without self-preservation, tyrannical superego, crushing the ego. Solution, love with self-care, compassion with healthy boundaries. Jungian, individuation requires the integration of opposites, light and shadow, love and judgment, giving and receiving. Unilateral identification with goodness, denial of 50% of the psyche. Solution, integrate the shadow, accept the ability to say no, to distance yourself, to righteous anger. This doesn't make you bad, it makes you whole. Adler would say, genuine social interest, Gemeinschaftsgefühl, is not neurotic self-sacrifice. True social contribution comes from a position of strength, not weakness. Solution, develop the courage to be imperfect. Contribute without self-annihilation. Encourage others to grow instead of simply accepting their current state. To sum it up, strong love, love with truth, compassion with limits, kindness with discernment, light integrated with shadow, balanced giving with receiving, forgiveness combined with consequences, acceptance of the person, not the destructive behavior. This balance is not in The Idiot, but it will be in Dostoevsky's final masterpiece, The Brothers Karamazov. But first we'll go through Dostoevsky's demons. In The Brothers Karamazov, Alyosha, also kind, also compassionate, no, we'll see why it collapses. Because it matches Myshkin's kindness, wisdom of Zosima, his spiritual mentor, ability to set limits, accepting human complexity without getting lost in it, faith without naivete, love without self-destruction. Alyosha is what Myshkin could have been. Dostoevsky learned from the failure of The Idiot, and 12 years later, he created the complete answer to this failure. But that's a story for future episodes. The Poisoned Gift, Dostoevsky's gift in The Idiot. It's not an easy hope, it's a brutal mirror. Myshkin shows us how kindness without wisdom creates victims. Denying the shadow renders you powerless and eventually destroys you. How a lack of boundaries allows and even encourages the self-destruction of others. How can you not save someone who doesn't want to be saved? How guiding fictions, even noble ones, can be neurotic and destructive. And it forces us to ask, how many times have I been Myshkin? How many times have I sacrificed my mental, physical well-being at the expense of saving someone who chose self-destruction? Healthy relationships, Aglaya, versus dramatic impossibilities, Nastasya. My sanity trying to love without limits, without discernment, without wisdom. And how many times did that work? Honest answer, probably 0. Nastasyas continue to choose Rogozhins. Rogozhins continue their destruction. And Myshkin's collapse, regress, disappear. And the world? It continues. Indifferent. Comment now. Which character did you see yourself in? Myshkin. Trying to save everyone, destroying myself in the process. Nastasya. Sabotaging kindness because I don't feel worthy. Choosing punishment over redemption. Rogozhin. Love turned to obsession. Possession turned to violence. Aglaya. I lost someone because he chose to save an impossible person instead of building a future with me. Share this video with one person. A person sacrificing themselves for an impossible love. A person running away from potential love. A person who needs to see their reflection before the knife falls. Because Dostoevsky doesn't save anyone. He's just holding the mirror. And sometimes a mirror is exactly what we need to wake up.